Since I changed the size of the motor mount, I'm going to have to adjust the size of my fin tabs. So I'm going to trim off the little bit that it needs to have trimmed off. Just wanted to show you all this. I'm getting ready to mount the motor mount in the tube, and of course you got to sand down in there to give it some the epoxy some place to bite onto. So all you need to do is take a stick like that and just tape some sandpaper, 80 grit sandpaper on the end of it, and then sand all down in the bottom of the sand all around where the centering ring's going to mount. And I'm going to mix up some epoxy and mount this motor mount. Alright, I got the motor mount installed and started putting my fins on, but let me catch y'all up to what I did for the motor mount. Top of the motor mounts here, mixed up a batch of epoxy and just used this stick here to, you know, scoop up the epoxy and go in there and slather it around on the inside of the tube. And then when I pushed the motor mount up there, it, you know, like wiped the epoxy with it on that top centering ring and made a nice, you can see where there's a nice, you can see through the tube here is a nice layer of epoxy above the top centering ring all the way around. It was about a 10-gram batch of epoxy. As far as the second ring that's on top of the fins, I didn't want to get any epoxy there, and it's kind of hard. You'd have to inject epoxy, you'd drill a hole or something and inject it there, but I just don't worry about that, because then I come and backfill. I leave that back centering ring off, and after I get my fins on them, I pour epoxy in there. And I'll also do 2-part expanding foam, but I don't think I have any right now, so I'll just do some nice internal fillets. On my rear centering ring, I put a couple of screws in there to help me take it on and off, because when I mounted the motor mount in there, put the centering ring on to make sure the tube was perfectly straight, which it is, so that's just not a problem. I also like to have it there when I push the fins down. The fins fit really tight in these slots, and when you push a fin down, let's see here, get one of my fins out. Also sanded and beveled my edges, made sure everything fits before I start gluing anything. So I did a little beveling on each one of the edges. So you can see the fins fit down in the slot. I want to make sure that that slot's big enough to accept the fins too. A lot of times they get hung up there. Alright, I mixed up a small 3-gram batch of epoxy, and we're going to glue this fin on. I went ahead and sanded along the root edge here to rough the surface up really good with 80 grit sandpaper. You can see where I sanded it, just so that you get some bite. Now remember, this part to here is going to be inside the body tube, but I'm going to pour epoxy in the body tube after this is dry to make an internal fillet along here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just put some epoxy along the base of the root here, and then go ahead and just slip it into this slot and let it touch all the way down to the body tube. I got the ring in here. Let's see. Pull that out. I can show you on the inside. Okay, yeah. So you want to get it in there all the way touching the body tube. So I'm going to need 2 hands, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of that.